So today we're going to do chapter 28, Kafchet. Just gonna quick kind of to tie those loose ends, or kind of review from 27. 27 starts that unit of actually 26 start that unit of prophecies about other nations, not the Jewish nation. And we spoke so far about Saul. And the previous chapter, 27, was a lament about Saul. And believe it or not, we're going to continue about Saul for a little bit in the next chapter, and then we're going to switch to a different nation, but to Sidon, where they're actually neighbors. But the essence of what happened, or what Yechezkel is saying to Saul, is the power of Saul, which was an island, and he gives like the parable to a beautiful ship, so their power brought them to this to rely too much on their power, to forget that there's actually somebody behind that power, and and because of that, they that led to all sorts of corruption, and that will lead to their downfall. Fine. So we spoke about Saul quite a lot, and our chapter 28 actually going to continue with Saul, but slightly different. In other words, we're going to talk about the Nagid, or the king of Saul. And these prophecies are actually going to shed like a little bit of a different light on the reasons why Saul fell. It's let's call it the behavior of the king of Saul is also an element, or also a reason why Saul fell. He is, as we're going to learn, sin with self-grandiose, and that brought into corruption. So this is the first one, and the second prophecy. Let's take a look. I'm going to read verses, I guess the first 10 verses. וידבר אדוני אלי לאמור, בן אדם, אמור לנגיד צור, כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, יען גבה לבך ותאמר אל אני, מושב אלוהים ישבתי בלב ימים, ואתה אדם ולא אל, ותיתן לבך כלב אלוהים. הנה חכם אתה מדניאל, כל סתום לא עממוך. בחוכמתך ובתבונתך עשית לך חיל, ואתה זהב הכסף באוצרותיך, ברוב חוכמתך ברכולתך הרבית חיליך, ויגבה לבבך בחיליך. Okay, so this is the description. We're already kind of like familiar with the structure of how he gives his prophecies. Now there's going to be the outcome. So there's a description, and therefore, right, then this is now verse 6. לכן, therefore, כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, יען תדחה את לבבך כלב אלוהים, לכן הנה מביא עליך זרים, עריצי גויים, והריקו חרבותם על יפי חוכמתך, וחללו יפעתך, לשחת יורידוך ומטת ממותי חלל בלב ימים. האמור תאמר אלוהים אני לפני הורגך, ואתה אדם ולא אל, ביד מחלליך, מותי ערלים תמות ביד זרים, כי אני דיברתי נאום אדוני אלוהים. In English, the word of Hashem came to me saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Tyre, thus said Hashem, because your heart has grown proud, and you have said, I am God. I occupy the sea of God in the heart of the seas. But you are a man and not a God. Though you set your heart like the heart of God. Are you wiser than Daniel? We're going to talk about that in a second. Does no mystery perplex you? Through your wisdom and discernment, you have acquired wealth for yourself and amassed gold and silver in your treasuries. Through your abundant wisdom in your commerce, you have increased your wealth, and your heart became proud with your wealth. Therefore, thus said Hashem, because you have set your heart like the heart of God, therefore, behold, I'm bringing foreigners upon you, the fiercest of the nations, and they will draw their sword against the beauty of your wisdom, and they will defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the grave, and you will die the death of the slain in the heart of the seas. Will you say, I'm God before your killer? You are a man and not a God in the head of your slayer. You will die the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of foreigners, for I have spoken the word of the Lord Hashem. Yes. Yeah, I don't think it has. No, not really. It's just a style of speech. No. Okay. Number one, there's a very obvious connection between the behavior of the prince, the king of Tzor, and the description of Tzor from the previous chapter. First of all, the great wealth. Okay, gold and silver, all that kind of stuff. The success in being a leading force in the world of as sailors, as merchants, of that rely on how you call it, bartering, exchanging, all that kind of stuff, but like specifically with ships, with ships and all that kind of stuff, because they're an island, Belev Yamim. But that became the source or the reason for his failure. Why? Because he attributed all his success to his great wisdom. Not only that he started to believe that he is a god. And those feelings of self-grandize and thinking of yourself as a god, that was also somehow propelled by the fact that Tzor is an island. Why? Because an island is kind of like distant from the land. It's separate, right? So therefore somebody would say, oh, I'm here, they're there. Okay, so I'm not like everybody else. And if I'm the king of everybody who is not like everybody else, then I am a god. And to kind of facing all that, like is the opposite side is yechezkel, and he says no. The prince of Tzor is a regular human being, and he is about to learn it the hard way. Why? Because he's going to be killed by humans. Okay. It's interesting. It says four times that phrase, Ve'ata Adam velo El. Batiten libcha kelev Elohim. You're a man, you're not a god. You have a human heart, even though you think you have a godly heart. It's not. It's like yechezkel appears to us as somebody who can't contain it. He's so upset. He's so he can't even wait. He's bursting out. And immediately after the first sentence, he says, Vatomer El ani moshav Elohim yashavti b'yamim. You say that you're God. You sit right there in the middle of the ocean. It's kind of like yechezkel kind of break the structure of his own prophecies. When it says, "No, ve'ata adam velo el." You're a man. You're not a God. But iten libcha kelev Elohim. You would like to think that you have but it's not true. And after that, he goes back to describe the prince of Tzor. So it's kind of like interesting. It's like ben adam emolin kitzor kamar, and it's like then he goes back. So he breaks that structure here. I guess he's emotional here. Then in the second part of the Nebuah, i.e. Verses 6 to 10, again, when he talks about the punishment, he goes back to the fact that the prince of Tzor think that he is a god. It's the same idea. So he said it in the first part of the first prophecy, and then like later on in the second part. And he kind of like it's I think the most radical expression that he says, you're going to say that you're God also to the person who's going to kill you? Okay, can you say that to the person who's going to kill you? Okay. Now, why am I fascinating about that? I'm fascinated with that because to me, at least, I see great resemblance to what? Who? Another king. No, Jewish one. Shlomo. Both are known for their great wisdom. Both use their wisdom to acquire wealth. And at the end of the day, their wisdom was the source of their downfall. Correct. Also, yeah, of course. So this is the danger that for people that receive those special gifts, unusual gifts from God. Those gifts that are capable of taking people and put them in unusual heights, get them to unusual heights, could be also the same reason that they're going to fall. I don't want to psychoanalyze that too much, but it's the power of success. Power, like, and power corrupts and whatever, all that kind of stuff. But that's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. Shlomo himself failed. At the end of the day, there's avodah zarah, there's like all that kind of stuff. Why? Because it's not going to happen to me. The Torah says, should not acquire wealth. Oh, it's not going to happen to me. I'm smart. I can handle it. I know what's the limit. Torah says, don't have too many wives. It's okay. It's for the common people. I'm smart. I can handle it. I know what to do. I know where to stop. That didn't help. It didn't help. And that notion that like I'm starting to trust only my own wisdom and my own capabilities and forgetting that everything comes from Hashem, that is basically what's going to cause me to become, arrogant, too much of self-confidence, and that creates a distortion in my ability to to see things correctly, definitely in when it comes to issues of ethics and morality and religious aspect, of course, and all that kind of stuff. So it's because of the power. Power corrupts, but it's much more. And we see it. We see it in our lives. We see it everywhere. Everywhere.
Absolute power corrupts absolute.
Yes.
There are some people who are not like that, and who have power and wealth.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly.
And you would think that, and then maybe I guess it's my upbringing, we didn't have, but we always gave. My mother said it's better to give than to take.
For sure.
And that's the way my brothers were always giving.
Right. No, for sure. Not everybody, is corrupted. That not because you have to remember. But that's the idea. If you remember that this is not because of you, but it's because of God gave you those gifts,
right,
then you'll be on the right path. It's just this constant reminder, it's not me. That we have a custom. It's interesting. We have a custom to give tzedakah every morning in Shacharit, and many have the practice of doing that, particularly at the time of Vayvarech David, at the end of Psukei de Zimra. The end of Psukei de Zimra, there's a passage that we read from the book of Nehemiah. And ואתה מושל בכל ובידך כוח וגבורה לגדל וחזק לכל. And many have the custom to give tzedakah at that particular time. Why? Because, okay, so this is the speech that David gave to the people when he collected the money to build Beit HaMikdash. But it's a reminder, V'ata moshel b'kol, right? You, God, controls everything. U'v'yadcha koach u'gvura legadel u'lchazek lakol. You have the ability, the capacity to bring up people, everything. So by me giving tzedakah at that moment, it's a reminder, it's not really mine. God gave me that money. So what? So I can use it, but not, and I'm showing that what I do, I use it wisely. I share it with others. I give to charity. I give to tzedakah as well. It's a symbol. It's something. It's a reminder. I got it from God. Well, if it's not really mine, God gave it to me, and He trusts me to do the best use of that money. Then I have an obligation to do so. Okay. It's just like, constant, like a tiny reminder. It's okay. Then let's go into the second section that we have about Melech Tzor. It's a lament about it. I'm going to read verses, I guess, 11 to 19. וידבר אדוני אלי לאמור, בן אדם, שא קינה על מלך צור, ואמרת לו, ואמר אדוני אלוהים, אתה חותם תוכנית מלא חוכמה וכליל יופי. בעדן, okay, make a note of that, גן אלוהים, היית כל אבן יקרה מסוכתך, אודם פיתדה ויהלום תרשיש שוהם וישפה, make a note of that, ספיר נופך וברכת וזהב, מלאכת ופך ונקבך בך, ביום יברעך כוננו, עד קירוב ממשך שוחך, ונתתיך בהר קודש אלוהים היית, בתוך אבני אש התהלכת. תמים אתה בדרכיך מיום יברעך, עד נמצא עוולת בך. ורוב רכולתך מעלו תוכך חמס ותחתה ואכלליך מהר אלוהים ועבדך כרוב השוחך מתוך אבני אש. גבה לבך ביופייך, שכת חוכמתך לבעתך, על ארץ השלכתיך לפני מלכים, נתתיך לרעבה. מרוב עווניך בעבל רכולתך, חיללת מקדשך והוציא אש מתוכך, היא אכלתך, ואתנך לאפר על הארץ לעיני כל רואיך. כל יודעיך והעמים שוממו עליך, בלהות היית בעיניך עד עולם. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, take a lamentation over the king of Tyre. Say to him, thus said Hashem, are you, Adam, the culmination of a perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty? Were you in Eden, the garden of God? Was your canopy of every precious stone, Odem, Piteda, and Yahalom, Tarshish, Shoham, and Yashfeh, Sapir, Nofech, and Barkaz, and gold? The word of your drums and wind instruments was in you. They were established on the day of your creation. You were a great sheltering cherub. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second. And it is I who granted you this. You were upon the holy mountain of God. You walked among fiery stones. We're going to talk about that. Perfect were you in your ways from the day of your creation until wrongdoing was found in you. Because of your abundant commerce, your midst filled with injustice, and you sinned. So I desecrated you from the mountain of God and destroyed you, O sheltering cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I have thrown you to the ground. And I have set you before kings to gaze upon you. By the multitude of your iniquities, by the dishonesty of your commerce, you desecrated your sanctities. So I drew out a fire from within you. It consumed you. Thus I made you into ashes upon the earth in the eyes of all who see you. All who knew you among the peoples were astonished over you. You were a terror, but you shall be no more forever. Okay. As a continuation to the previous prophecy, now it's the lamentation about the king of Tzor. Now we're not going to emphasize his great wisdom, but rather his beauty, his physical attributes, his beautiful clothes, and all that kind of stuff. Now, first of all, a couple of things. The prophecy makes a very strong connection. It's right there between the king of Tzor and Adam. Adam, the guy from Genesis, the beginning, right? So first of all, he uses the word Adam. Number two, he says Gan Eden, right? So when to make a connection, and of course, by, so what's the purpose here? Why? Okay, punishment, but there's more than that. Adam was the only person who was really the son of God. Okay, he was created by God, and nonetheless, he sinned. He was not perfect. Doesn't matter. So nobody's perfect. Even the person who was created by God is not perfect. So who are you the king of Tzor, that you think that you are perfect. Even to Adam, that happened. Okay, so that's number one. And there's a lot of semantics, there's a lot of similarities here. Kruv. Remember that? There's a over there that kruv. What is this kruv? What? Kind of kruv. It's again, go back to the story of Gan Eden, where this Vaygaresh et ha'adam vayashken mikedem legan Eden et hakruvim. Right? Those angels or whatever they are, beings or whatever they are, that guard the entrance to Gan Eden. Yes. So the idea is that even Adam was kicked out of Gan Eden. So definitely you, okay? So of course he can't go back anymore, but the idea is that all those hints, all those Gan Eden, Adam, Kruvim, there's a lot, all that stuff. By the way, Tzor also reminds us Gan Eden. Talks about the gold. Where do we hear the gold in the first place? In Gan Eden. Uzehav haaretz ha'i tov, sham habdolach ve'eben hashoam. Gan Eden is the place that you have all this gold. Tzor has that gold. The king of Gan Eden was Adam. The king of Tzor is this guy. So there's a lot of similarities as we try to draw our attention. And nonetheless, even Adam, who was like maybe the closest to be a god, it was made very, very clear that he is not. And he was punished, and he is not perfect. So, alachat kama v'chama, how much more so you, the king of... Yes. Yeah. 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 Okay.
I think that it's something. This prophecy here, I think it's forever.
Okay. What about those stones? He talks about Odem, Pitada, Bareket, all those stones. Deja vu to something?
Yes, by Moshe, so.
No, not Moshe. Kohen HaGadol. That's the Choshen. These are exactly the same stones. And not only, but so what's the difference, though, by the way? He talks about 9 stones. The Kohen Gadol had 12. Okay, so, to show. But again, he tries to create a connotation between this very impressive guy, the king of Tzor, first to Adam and then to Kohen HaGadol. Kohen HaGadol is also perceived as, very powerful, the closest to whatever, right? So he's trying to, but at the end of the day, even the Kohen HaGadol is just a man. So, but he's making all those connotations to all those impressive figures. So the beauty and the splendor of the king of Tzor are highlighted here as unusual. And they're divided into 2 sections. In the first one, he compares Melech Tzor to Adam HaRishon. That Adam HaRishon had what no other man had, to live in Gan Eden, and the Kohen Gadol that had the breastplate, the Choshen with all of the stones. And not only that, the king of Tzor, just like the Kohen, and just like Adam, got that status, whatever that is, that special status, from the day they were born. Right? A Kohen Gadol has to be a Kohen from the moment that he was born. You cannot become a Kohen later in life. You become Kohen Gadol, but you have to start as a Kohen Katan. Okay. Same goes for the king of Tzor. He was, I guess he was born as a prince already. Okay. Now, in the second part, he is, we spoke about it a little bit. He's named a Kru. What's the purpose? Yes, it's to create a connotation to what we said, the Gan Eden, but much more than that. It gives him power, like some mystical powers. Okay? To give him some mystical powers. Not only that, betoch avnei eshit halachta. Remember from, I don't know how many chapters ago, we have like something, the Ish Levush Habadim, I don't remember which chapter, right? The person that yechezkel describes that wear the Habadim, the garments, you know, and he is, what he's doing? He's walking and he's holding the fire, the coals, whatever they are, right? This betoch avnei esh italach, avnei esh is the same use. It's the same thing. So again, it's to give us that sense that the king of Tzor had some supernatural qualities. Okay. Of course. And as we said, just like Adam, he also did not fulfill the hopes that Hashem had in him. Adam failed, and Melech Tzor also failed. Even though in the beginning it started well. He says to him, you were good in the beginning. Later on, I didn't say that. Later on, he became corrupt. Right? And what is the reason for that? Why he became corrupted? Too rich. Wealth.
Yeah.
Wealth brought to sin. Okay? Okay. So just like if we compare him to Adam in the beginning, we're going to compare him to Adam also later on at the end, meaning he's going to be deported, kicked out from Gan Eden. And if it's Behar Kodesh Elohim, Achalelcha Me'ar Elohim. If you look at the language, you will see a parallelism between where he is or where he was and the punishment or where he is going to. Where is it going to? Okay, and therefore, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is the destiny. What's going to happen to the king of Tzor is going to be exactly what happened to the people of Tzor and Tzor itself. And with this, we end the prophecies on Tzor. Again, those prophecies are not really talking about the Jewish people. Yeah, we read that they were not too sad when the Jewish kingdom fell, because it opened new opportunities for them. But again, we take really a minor role in this, and they are going to be punished for lack of morality, lack of ethics, corruption, regardless to their relationship with the Jewish nation. Okay, at this point, we're moving to Sidon. Okay, so it's a short prophecy about Sidon. Sidon is on the shore at about 40 kilometers, which is what, about 18 miles or so from Tzor. And during those times, it was a independent place with its own ruler. And let's like, what, 12 miles? Okay, 12 miles. Okay. No, but it's 40K. So it's about 24. That's what 24, 25. Yeah. Of so yes, correct. Okay, let's. Yes, yes, that's we spoke about it. Correct. But what we said many years later is only Alexander the Great built the road that connected so into the mainland. No, now it's connected since the time of Alexander the Great. It's connected.
This is one description.
Yeah.
So horses and stuff for the water.
Right. Makes
is inaccurate at all. Because you cannot set cavalry against an idea.
correct.
We need to do this.
Right. Correct. And we spoke about that, and when we said that there are two approaches to explain that, like, that yes, so was punished, but it was much later. And the other is to say, no, things have changed. They had so, okay. Now we're moving to Tzidon. I want to do verses 20 to 24. וידבר אדוני אלי לאמור, בן אדם שים פניך אל צידון והנבא עליה, ואמרת, כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, הנני עלייך צידון, ונכבדתי בתוכך, וידעו כי אני אדוני, ועשותי בה שפטים, ונקדשתי בה, ושילחתי בה דבר ודם וחוצותיה, ונפלל חלל בתוכה, וחרב עליה מסביב, וידעו כי אני אדוני. ולא יהיה עוד לבית ישראל סילון ממאיר בקוץ מכאיב, מכל סביבותם, אשתים אותם, וידעו כי אני אדוני אלוהים. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, direct your face towards Sidon and prophesy against it. Say, thus said Hashem, behold, I am against you, O Sidon, I will be honored within you. And they will know that I am Hashem when I execute judgments upon her, and I become sanctified through her. I will send pestilence and blood into her streets, and the slain will fall within her when the sword comes upon her from all around. Then they will know that I am Hashem. Then there will no longer be for the house of Israel any harmful briar nor painful thorn among all their surroundings who despoil them, and they will know that I'm the Lord Hashem. Yeah. 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 Trying to remember. I didn't bring it's Kaf Daled. Yep. And I didn't bring the one with the Mefarshim this time. I didn't bring it, but I will look into that. Okay, so this short prophecy remind us the prophecies that he already gave on the other nations, if you remember, in chapter 25. those who are in the east of Israel. The prophecy over there started the same language. Ben Adam simpanecha el bnei Ammon binave alem. Right? Remember when we talked about the Ammonites. And here we go back to just like their relationship with the Jewish nation. That was the kind of the reason and the theme of the prophecy. Here is the same thing. The relationship or the way they treated us, and how it's defined. Silon mam'ir bekotz mach'iv. That's the way they treated us. They thought of us as a silon mam'ir bekotz mach'iv. And because of that, they're going to suffer. They're going to be punished in dever, blood, and sword. And again, this shorish sha'atim come from the word sha'at. Like when I say sha'at nefesh, it means that I'm, it's a very negative attitude. Yeah. Well, shin sin in Tanach, they go back and forth all the time. So in modern Hebrew, yes, but sha'atim, it comes from that. No, that laset, that to carry, no. This is something else. This is something that is, I feel that I'm repelled by. Correct. Correct. It's silon mam'ir is like it's like something. It's something that like shoots, right? And it has a great velocity. Okay. But this prophecy is a little bit different. From the previous ones. The prophecies in chapters 25 and 26 talks about what they've done wrong, and later on their punishment. Here we start with the punishment, and only later on we see what they've done wrong. Okay, I don't know if this is significant, but it's a little bit different. Now, the last couple of psukim of the chapter is consolation. And that tells us also that this is it's the end of a unit. So it's the end of a unit, because after dealing with the nations that are in the east of Israel and in the north of Israel, right? Because we started Ammon, Moab, all those guys, Plishtim, remember, we did that in 25, that's in the east. Now we move to the north, and we said that the order of things is not chronological, but rather it's geographical. So we start with the east, we move to the north, okay? And later on, starting the next chapter is going to be Egypt, south. Okay? But so we're going to have like a whole, like kind of a subunit starting from the next chapter, which we're going to do in 3 weeks. It's going to be about Egypt. There's going to be like a whole unit about Egypt. We have a long history with Egypt. But just before getting into that, there's a short section that is a consolation for us. And so we're going to do those verses 25 and 26. That's the end of the chapter. K'amar Adonai Elohim, וקבצי את בית ישראל מן העמים אשר נפוצו בם, ונקדשתי בם לעיני הגויים, וישבו על אדמתם אשר נתתי לעבדי ליעקב, וישבו עליה לבטח, ובתו בתים ונטו חרמים, וישבו לבטח בעשותי שפטים בכל, again, that word, here we go, השתים אותם מסביבותם, וידעו כי אני אדוני אלוהיהם. This is also part of the Haftarah, one of the 7 Haftarot of consolation. We include that section. So I'm trying to remember which Haftarah. It's in Va'era, but it's in Va'era. Okay, so it's not the 7, but it is part of one of the Haftarot. Okay. English 25. Thus said the Lord Hashem, when I gather in the house of Israel from the people among whom they were scattered, then I will be sanctified through them in the eyes of the nations, and they will dwell on their land that I gave to my servant to Jacob. They will dwell upon it in security and build houses and plant vineyards and dwell in security. When I execute judgments upon all those who despoil them from all their surroundings, then they will know that I am Hashem, their God. Well, it's connected to the prophecy on Sidon, because both have that same term, Hashatim otam misviv otam. And it also tells us there's a it's not that they were also like bad to us, like, there were, bad guys, Sidon, Tzor, whatever, Plishtim, Ammon, Moab, all those guys, and they're going to be punished. But it has also a theological message as well, right? Ve'yadu ki ani Adonai. Okay, they need to know I'm Hashem. So that's part 1, but that's not the end of it. And this is what second stage is, what this little prophecy is doing. This is the second stage. Punishing those nations is a crucial and necessary stage, according to the chronology here at least, for the return of the Jewish people to its land. And then they will recognize not only the Goyim, but also us. Ve'yadu ki ani Adonai Eloheh. I'm your God. I'm their God. And that was part of the big plan. So I think this is a good place for us to stop. We're not going to go into all those prophecies on Mitzrayim. That's a whole different unit that we're going to start in 3 weeks. I'm going to send an email, but I think it's a good place to stop, especially considering the fact that we're 2 days before Tisha B'Av. And, Tisha B'Av was what started the Galut, being dispersed all over. Yes, we're back in the land of Israel, and but we are not. Maybe yes, maybe no. It's probably it's a debatable topic whether we are. We're witnessing no God's judgments against the other nations. Not simple times to be in Israel. Not simple times to be in Israel, and especially this timing, this week and everything. But we have to be optimistic, and we have to remember that there's going to be a consolation. We have a promise that things are going to be okay. The sages do extrapolate, and we're going to see it in much later in the other chapters, from yechezkel, this concept of the third temple. Right, the concept of having a third temple comes from yechezkel, because what happened was he talks about the second, and in a historic perspective, it was inaccurate. The second temple didn't happen, like it didn't happen the way the yechezkel described it. So either you're going to say the yechezkel was wrong, or you're going to say that yechezkel was prophesying about something else. And the rabbis decided to take the second option and say he was prophesying about the third temple. So this is our prayer, this is our hope that yechezkel was right, and there will be a third temple. Whatever is going to happen with that, what kind of form is going to be, this is a fascinating debate by itself. Whether we're going to have sacrifices, if yes, no, yes, what does it mean? What kind of, like all that kind of stuff is a fascinating debate. The truth is, nobody really knows. But there's a debate, which is good. But listen, the debate is good. Yeah. Correct. Let's build it. Correct. Correct. What would have happened? I don't know. It's an interesting. I don't know. We're not so much in the business of theories, but I really hope that things are gonna get a little bit better. It's without getting into the whole political debate, right, left, or whatever. It's not even right, left anymore. Who is right and who is wrong and all that kind of stuff. The fact that we have a government that is willing to completely ignore such mass and continues and say, well, I have the mandate, I have the power, I can do whatever I want. It's a little bit scary. It's that. It's that power corrupts. And this idea of forgetting that your power is not really yours. It was given to you to do good things, and you need to use it wisely. And even if you think that something is the right thing to do, without analyzing it, whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, the fact that it creates such a machloket should be enough for people to be a little bit more humble and say, wait, maybe not all the truth is on my side. Maybe not all the truth is on. There's a problem today in the world. It's not only in Israel, everywhere, that we tend to think about things in a how you call it, binary vision. So it's either this or this. If this, then it's not this. If I'm Republican, then I'm not Democrat. If I'm Democrat, I'm not Republican. If I'm against something, that means I'm not for that something. And that it's a outlook that not going to get us anywhere good. It's not. We need to adopt a different form of thinking today in the world, form of more holistic approach. There's truth here, and there's truth here, and not say, oh, well, things are, and I'm not saying like I'm one of those people who said like, oh, everything is complex and everything is acceptable and all that kind of stuff, because that leads you to be paralyzed and you can't do anything. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that you need to recognize there's truth in both sides. And what we need to do, and this is not mine, this is Kohelet. Everything is about timing. Sometimes the right approach is this, sometimes the right approach is this, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. There's truth here and there's truth that. The kunz, as we say it, is to understand, to know what's the right timing for each action. That's all. There is no absolute truth on one side and zero truth on the other. It's not true. You need to recognize the truth on both sides. You just need to figure out when is the right time to do, to do things. And that's a debate.
So maybe you can expect from the beginning, let's start, you already has the prediction of the sentence. Heaven, Arik, not heaven.
You know what's Hevel?
It's what to do. It's nothing, or it's what to do.
Not exactly. That's the modern interpretation of Hevel, like, based on modern Hebrew. Hevel, it's,
No,
no. It's Hevel, comes from Hevel Peh, right? So that means, so when it's cold, right, it's steam or whatever. It means it's temporary. So that it's nonsense, it's nothing, like insignificant. That's not the case. That's not what he's saying. He's saying it's temporary.
What is the French?
But that's vanity. No, but that's vanity. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not Jewish interpretation. There's a Christian interpretation. It's not vanity. It's temporary.
It's more like Christian tradition. Capital. It's whiskey.
It's one moment it's here and then it's not here, and that's life.
There's no.
So is,
I don't think.
so is that what's the point of
No, he said find meaning in that time. That's what he says. He many make the mistake and think that he is like depressed and say like, there's no point for anything. Everything is like, no. He's saying, no, absolutely not. Say, don't bother with, the ultimate or whatever. Just find meaning in what yes, life is temporary. Things are temporary. One day you're rich, the other you're going to be poor. You're alive, God forbid you're dead. Find meaning in the moment. It's not live in the moment. It's bring meaning into the moment. It's different. Yes, that's what he's saying. Okay. As I said, we will take a break for 3 weeks, and then we'll be back. I think it's August 15th. Yeah, I think so. We'll send an email, but I think it's August 15th.
Have a great trip. Enjoy.
And,
Thank you.